the cookie gonna crumble in 2021? Because it sure crumbled in 2020 for our poor guest, Gary Morgenstein, and his play, A Black and White Cookie, which I was all set to see at Theater for the New City, and then boom!
Man plans, God laughs. Thank you all, by the way, for having me on. And I'm hoping 2021 it won't crumble. We were supposed to premiere at the Theater for the New City, March 26th. We finished rehearsals a few days before, guess again. But we decided, okay, a new year, and we're going to be premiering on Theater for the New City on the air virtual series on January 21st, Thursday at 7. And then the producer, Ego Actus, it's directed by the wonderful award-winning Joan Kane. They're going to put up a second show Sunday, January 24th at 3. We wanted to do something to at least replicate a run. And we wanted to give 2 performances, and we wanted one on a weekend so that people during the week who are working and different time zones, because the flip side of Zoom is that people all over the world, all over the country can watch, and we wanted to address that. So, excuse me, what's changed is it's now a post-pandemic play.
What's the plot?
Well, the plot is that Harold Wilson, a gruff, no-nonsense African-American in his late 60s, think Ozzie Davis, had an East Village newsstand for nearly 30 years. He survives the pandemic and then gets hit with an exorbitant rent increase, has to close. After all that, after everything he goes through, lights out, he can't afford it. Now he has to go to Florida to retire with his niece. He really does not want to do that. Enter his longtime customer, Albie Sands, who's an eccentric Jewish radical from the 60s. Think again, Wallace Shawn. And Albie tries to persuade Harold to fight back. So it's about them overcoming their many differences and fighting corporate greed and prejudice. And what I do is I use modern anti-Semitism as a window on all hate. It's not about people in, swastikas and white hoods, because it's about what happens when good people have bigoted views. And I think that, as we know, that enshrines hatred, and it enshrines totalitarianism, fascism. And so I wanted to explore that. And in our world now, it's so dangerous as an artist, as a person. You walk a third rail trying to explain anything, because then you get torched, because then you agree with it. It's no, history can be ugly, behavior can be ugly, but if we don't understand where hatred comes from, how can we address it? So in the play, the African-American lead and his niece have somewhat anti-Semitic views, so they have to get past that. But it's also explores prejudice. When we open up again, post-pandemic, there's going to be suspicion and fear about people who are not vaccinated. And I want to go into, at the homeless situation, I wanted to explore all that.
Boy, it's even more timely than when you first created it. And the fact that you were able to change it to suit what's going on now, that it's such a flexible play.
Yes. Well, I want to give credit where credit is due. I write novels, as you know, and that's the ultimate narcissism. That's me. Good or bad, that's my voice. But in theater, the wonderfulness of theater is when you're blessed to work with people you respect and creative people. And Joan Kane, the director, as we neared this opening, she said, you should really look at the play and address the fact that it's the pandemic and some things will ring differently. And it was right. So the plot is is pretty much the same, except that Harold now has survived. It's layering in what we all have gone through and the effect it's had on us. And it's not people wearing masks. With New York City in the play it's the spring of 2021. So we're coming into the light such as it is. But we've been affected, and we're not quite the same, and who knows how long we will be until we will be the same, if ever.
Oh, so this is imagining the future when we've all had the chance to be vaccinated and things can go back to normal.
Yes, but what if someone isn't vaccinated? Should they be outcast? Should they be suspected? I mean, how far do we take that? What kind of prejudice? It's things that we have to address. But at the bottom line, it's kind of a modern I'm not Rappaport, but more edgy.
Huh.
About people coming together, and it's very positive because prejudice is ugly. But how do we aspire? How do we overcome it? How do we all find the parts of us that say, let's celebrate what we have in common rather than the things that divide us. We're still all people, and I think that's an important message now, more so than ever. way, way more so than ever, given current events.
I agree.
Yes,
Well, I'm just glad that, because it's like at least it's getting a new life.
yes,
That because a lot of plays and theaters and everything else are just falling by the wayside. So it's just, a terrible situation.
yes. But we have to find ways to keep theater alive. And I've got a great cast. I must please give them shout outs. I have Mansoor Naji Ullah. I have Maury Shore from LA. Again, the beauty of Zoom. You can, bring in wonderful actors from out of town. I have Rosalind Seal, Chris Collins Pisano, and Julie Fan. So it's a really terrific cast. And except for one actor, everyone who was originally scheduled to perform in March came back, and they're all committed and they like the play. So I'm hoping everyone else will.
Social media is really causing a lot more assimilation than previously. It seemed to me, having read a great deal about the Jewish people, and also I was a temporary cantor for a while, even though I'm not Jewish. It seems to me that their problem was always that they did not want to assimilate, and therefore they stayed separate. And as long as people stay separate, they don't learn anything about you, and so we'll make things up. And social media is really getting us a much, even though it has caused problems like the Proud Boys, social media is still causing a great deal more assimilation, which I think is a good thing.
But luckily,
Okay.
we've got Gary and the theater, and theater has always been the balm over every terrible thing we've ever gone through. So we'll put up all the information so we can go and see your play. And I'm so excited I get to see it. Yay! And now I'd like to bring in Beck Lee, which we haven't seen. He's like one of our favorite press agents, and it's so nice to see him because he's got something very important to say. That a thing that is falling by the wayside is our beloved Pangea. I mean, they're having a benefit right now. It's only $20 for a ticket, and you are getting the most amazing show, which I'm going to talk about later. But please tell us all about Pangea.
And Pangea is, at risk of closing right now. It's under a dark cloud, but somehow it could be another one of those incredible New York stories of survival. And I have a lot of, I still do feel hopeful that Stephen and Arnaldo will pull it out. And they're getting a lot of support from this benefit, this alt variety show that Tweed Theater Works put together, Kevin Maloney. It's fantastic. You'll be reviewing it. It really is great. But there are a lot of people who have performed at the club frequently, and they love the club, and they rallied in support of Pangea, put together a very fresh, original, edgy, but very polished show, I think, and which is typical. Pangea had, started a live stream series with Tammy Faye Starlight and Penny Arcade, which did very well, the Ghostlight series. That started, just before the election in October, and got, a lot of attention. And he had been hoping to, somehow find a way to have live assembly in Pangea to do shows, even for microscopic audiences. It's a small room anyway. And the best thing he was able to do, Stephen, was put Tammy Faye Starlight in the room and Penny Arcade in the room to film two fantastic shows with no audience, and those were presented in October, November. We're getting some momentum. Stephen was serving food outside. And it was, modest, but very lovely. And people were just charmed by the experience. And unfortunately, somebody, a new neighbor, came in and started complaining about the activity on the sidewalk. And then soon after that, there was a report of a gas leak, and it was in the middle of the night. The city had to shut down the gas, of course, as a precaution. But it turned out to be a false, unsubstantiated gas report, and Stephen, did everything that he had to do to, to get things looked at, inspected. But in the last analysis, the building department just floored him with the news that they wanted him to come up to 2020 code, which will require a significant financial outlay to he was fully coded up to, he was operating under, code and everything, but this building department demand that he upgrade to 2020 building code, and he just doesn't have the money for this. And he was hanging on by a thread to begin with. So that's why he even went so far as to start serving food using an electric grill. His chef was very creative, and nobody really noticed, that they were getting food that was prepared on a basically a Bunsen burner. But so this is a story of survival. It's a story of the East Village. It's a story of resilience. And Pangea, had a lot of goodwill and a lot of love, waiting to help, come to the rescue, essentially. And that's what's happening right now. So, check out this alt variety show from Tweed Theater Works. If you can, it's $20 to see it, and it's you can get it until January 20th. Anyway, I adore those guys. I've had such a good time representing them and helping them, because I just feel that New York doesn't have enough places for artists to experiment and develop work, and Pangea is truly an incubator and a welcoming oasis for artists to come in and try things, push the envelope, and do it, do things in a feeling of safety as artistic explorers.
And the food is really good too. So people can still, or can they do takeout food and still get food there?
No, he's not doing takeout, but I'm not there in New York at the moment. I would be there so much, but I think when the weather permits, they open up on the sidewalk to serve food.
Beck, are we having the First Origin Irish Festival again or not?
Yes.
Favorite,
This
most
is-
favorite.
When does that start up?
This is the lucky 13th year. They're starting tomorrow. It's January
goodness.
11th through the
What day do you
31st, 3 weeks. It's all virtual. And they this time, actually, the Origin First Irish Festival has been known for bringing in, importing productions from Ireland and Northern Ireland, and then also presenting at the same time homegrown productions from New York, produced and by this, sizable Irish expat theater community. And it's always been sort of a cross-pollination of local New York shows and mostly, sort of produced on a shoestring productions, complemented by productions from Ireland that had been acclaimed and had government support enough so that they could actually get them to come to New York. So acclaimed productions with a track record, side by side with these new productions by the New
So what
York.
shows are they doing now? What are the shows that?
So it's still that same mix of shows. They have theatrical productions of films and some panels, but now it's for this year, it's all virtual.
So Beck, are you going to send us the times and the link?
Oh yeah,
Well, how do you do
absolutely.
it?
What are some of the titles? Like, is Abbey Theater doing something?
Right. So Fishamble is doing something. A couple of theater companies that are being presented this year actually produced during the pandemic for virtual online theater consumption, like the Irish Rep. They have a show that was seen in the summer. Then there's a production from Ireland called Transatlantic Tales that was produced for Zoom, essentially. That was done this summer, and that has stories that involve Irish and Irish American, and it's really fun. So the Fishamble Transatlantic Tales.
Honor Malaya doing something?
Yeah, there's an Origin production. Thanks. There's an Origin Theater production. They commissioned 4 plays on the rise of domestic violence during the pandemic, and those are self-filmed plays, 4 short plays that were written. And Honor Malloy is one of the playwrights for that.
So speaking of Pangea, I saw their benefit called Taint, because it taint Christmas and it taint New Year's. And they had all my favorite downtown folks have gathered together for a gangbuster show that is hilarious and heartfelt. Bergman and Blaustein had this ridiculous folk song called Cheese Board of Shattered Dreams. And then you have poor baby Brie with another food-related song, Love Music with My Food. Feed empty stomach while pleasing the ear. David Ilkud does a monologue about dishing with a multitude of friends at Pangea. And he mentions Pepper Grinder Theater. And Carol Lipnick, who has this incredible voice range and can hold a note longer than anyone, did a Harry Nielsen song. Cleo Berlin and Becky Combe were hysterical with I'm Dreaming of a White Person's Christmas. Amber Martin and Brett Every, they did this wonderful straight up love song with great harmonizing. And we got advice from Steve Hayes' mother, which was every phrase and cliche a mother ever uttered. Rochelle Garnier saying the recently departed Johnny Nash's I Can See Clearly Now, and Joseph Keckler, who has the most incredible, spine-tingling, beautiful, deep operatic voice, he was all dressed in goth and he sang a song about sex with a ghost. And Christine Zabornik, she sang my theme song, how a raunchy, tragic song about not getting laid. Charles Bush showed up with an optimistic song about spring and love. Silver Wallace and Matthew Dean Marsh did this wonderful song that made me want to get up and dance. And David Cale did this hilarious take on a blind date where he pretended to be Charlie. And Flotilla DeBarge sang Cabaret, fittingly enough. Clay Woman extolled the virtues of Pangea, and it ended with Vicky Cristina Barcelona singing I Live It Up, Won't Live It Down, and while she's singing Gotta Hold On, a montage of photographs of all the performers at Pangea.
Theater for a New Audience, together with the New Vic and Royal Shakespeare, have put together what they could of a really forgotten 1939 collaboration between Shakespeare, Louis Armstrong, and Benny Goodman, a musical jazz version of Midsummer Night's Dream that had the most fantastic cast. I mean, including Butterfly McQueen, Louis Armstrong himself playing Bottom, and Moms Mabley playing Quince, and it only lasted 13 performances on Broadway. It gave birth to at least one classic, Darn That Dream, that people have heard millions of times by many performers, but the show itself sort of disappeared because there is no script that could be found. But the music that was presented that I heard yesterday afternoon was just really, really great. And I'm hoping they could put it together for a longer piece. And it's streaming, I think, for another week. And you could, catch it, listen to it, and develop an appetite for when they finally could put a longer piece out. Imagine seeing Butterfly McQueen as Puck. And Mom's Mabley, the woman who did Mom's Mabley, let me see if I could find her voice. I think it was Anne Odiki, really did like a whole extended joke from her that was hilarious and really delivered with her zest. And the major performers were for Oberon and Titania. And I think it's, let me see if I could find the name. It's Zara McFarlane, has the most wonderful blues voice playing Titania. And Cornell S. John could really be, an older matinee idol doing Oberon. This cast is a dream cast as well as the original. It's just we don't know them as well as those names that were the glory of the past.
So the Public Theater is doing their January festival under the radar, where they get these amazing, innovative theater companies from all over the world. This one is closed already, Borders and Crossings, which was by Inua Ellams from the UK. And it had two poems, Borders and Crossings, which was Fuck Borders and Fuck Border Guards, and two little plays, Dolphin and Icarus, about trying to escape refugee camps. Still going on is Rich Kids, A History of Shopping Malls in Tehran, which is written by Javad Alipour from UK and Iran. And it's about these spoiled rich kids that, the trouble is you can't flaunt it in Iran because there's so many poor people. And they just do drugs and drive recklessly. And it's all about, this car crash. But you have to go to Instagram Live, and then you have to look at Instagram photos while the story. So you're going back and forth, and it was non-linear. It went forwards, backwards. So it wasn't my cup of tea. So that gets a mixed face from me. But the thing that you should definitely see that's still going on, 1,000 Ways, Part 1, a phone call by 600 highwaymen, written, created by Abigail Bowdy and Michael Silverstone. This was so cool. So you get a phone number, you call it up, and then there's some other person also got a phone. So there's two of you. And then you change, you're either person A and person B, and then this disembodied voice asks you questions, and you can picture the other person, and you get the scenario of being stranded on a highway and then having to get work. It's just fascinating. It just makes you realize how unpredictable life is and the vagaries of life. And I love this. This gets a happy face plus. And now we've got Jay Michaels with his wonderful indie influencer.
Greetings and Happy New Year. This is Jay Michaels, and this is Indie Influencer on High Drama. Now, I have heard your cries. Jay, we wait every month for High Drama's in-depth coverage, as well as your clever and veiledly erotic tones telling us about what's immediate in the indie world. But what do we do about going further? What if we wanted to read more about things like that? Well, I think it's time for an encore, don't you? Encore Monthly, that is. Now, Encore Monthly is a unique and entertaining view of Broadway and theater culture for theater lovers. Their exclusive content takes you into the wings, behind the scenes, and to all places where theater people come together. Its editor-in-chief is the one and only Robert Villegas, founding editor of Playbill.com. So if anyone knows Broadway, it's him. But did you know he was also the leading reviewer on Arts Independent, an off-Broadway-centric site that reviewed and analyzed independent theater? Well, he told me personally that he was going to make sure this magazine covered Broadway, off-Broadway, and off-Broadway. Tune in to Channel I to hear an exclusive interview with Robert about this amazing publication.
I thought I'd say a word about the indomitable Genny Yosco, president and co-founder of Sour Grapes Productions and production manager for the Frigid New York Festival. In a sane world, Genny and her fine troupe would be on stage at the Crane Theater on West 4th Street, where they would be doing edgy original plays, as well as what I would call original interpretations of great classics, bending genders and ignoring the rules as they present some of the most entertaining off-Broadway work one could see in New York City. Well, I'm happy to say that even during these insane times, Genny is charging ahead and presenting 4 Zoom productions that are available on demand anytime after they open. The first of these, a mime show called Silent But Deadly, began streaming yesterday, but of course it is still available on YouTube at the company's website. About this, the Young House Theater Journal said, "They have modernized mime in a way that we haven't seen before, but we really hope to see again." The second production, A Midsummer Night's Stream, premieres tonight at 7 p.m. It's a sequel to Genny's hysterical I'm Your Hamlet, which high dramatist Eva Heinemann gave a happy face plus when it streamed back in July. Tomorrow, we'll see the opening at 2 p.m. of Genny's weekly interview show, Bard Brunch, during which she'll make cupcakes and interview members of the Shakespeare Republic about their newest season, aptly titled All the Web's a Stage. Later at 7 p.m., Genny's first solo show is getting a revival. As the saying goes, Wednesday's child is full of woe. Since she was born on a Wednesday, Genny calls this piece Is Full of Woe, saying it's an apt description of her life, which she has pushed through using pure spite and a little caffeine. Genny Yosco is a talented lady, determined and focused. I highly recommend these works. She and her company are dedicated to theater in a way that's almost scary. We are all fortunate to have such professionals in our lives, and I really look forward to seeing them on stage again when it's possible.
But I really want to do a tribute show. Hopefully we'll get to it on our next show for Rebecca Luker, Ann Reiking, Roger Berlin, and Lee Brewer. And please, God, don't let anyone else die between now and our next show, which I think is February 1st. No, it's January 30th. Our next show is January 30th. So go to the theater. There's theater out there, and there's some good stuff going on.